Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. He was a man who embraced our universal needs and our quest for individual identities. He said, "For indeed in the social jungle of human existence there is no feeling of being alive without a sense of identity." Erikson's mom, Carla Abramson, was separated from her husband when Erik was conceived. So she left Denmark for Germany, where he was later born, and his birth father was never revealed. At the age of 3, his mother married his childhood pediatrician, Dr. Theodor Homburger. In late childhood, Erik discovered his stepfather was not in fact his biological father and felt deceived about his identity. He later in life was an artist who tutored children who were friends with the Freuds and became a Montessori teacher. He completed psychoanalytic training from Anna Freud, who was Sigmund Freud's daughter. He married Joan Serson, who was also an artist, and together they moved to America at the age of 31. He was the first child psychoanalyst in Boston. Erikson had clinical and academic positions at Harvard, Yale, and Berkeley, even though he never received a college degree. He published his first book, Childhood and Society, on his observations and conceptions in 1950 at the age of 48. He wrote other books after that, but he didn't start till late in life. In 1951, he assisted in the start of a residential treatment center for disturbed young people at the Austin Riggs Center in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, until 1961. The 8 stages of psychosocial development is a developmental theory that expanded on Freud's work and the concept of ego. The developmental model recognizes 8 stages of continued growth throughout the lifespan. Erikson believed personalities expand on previous stages of development, called the epigenetic principle. It seeks to understand how socialization affects sense of self. The only developmental theorist to continue throughout the entire lifespan and not stop at adolescence. Each stage is pivotal in human development. It increases in complexity throughout the lifespan and is referred to as a staircase of achievement. In each stage, though, there is a conflict that humans must work through for potential growth. If they succeed, they successfully move to the next stage, promoting ego strength. However, if they fail, their sense of self will suffer and create feelings of inadequacy. Stage 1 is trust versus mistrust. It begins in infancy, from birth to 18 months. Trust from caregivers is a key component, the most fundamental step in life. The virtue of hope is achieved when all needs are met. If love, nurturing, and food are provided, trust occurs. Failure in this stage is a lack of essential needs and consistency, leading to mistrust, which affects their outlook on life later on. In stage 2, the conflict is autonomy versus shame and doubt. It's in early childhood, from about 18 months to 3 years old. It's the beginning of independence by walking and autonomy through small decision-making, including toys, clothes, and food. It's also learning to control basic bodily functions, such as potty trainings. Parents have an important role for children to support independence, but also not overly criticize when failure occurs. Success in this stage results in confidence and autonomy, and achievement of the virtue of will. Failure in this stage, from lack of any control or extreme dependence on others, results in shame and doubt. In stage 3, the conflict is initiative versus guilt. The age range is between 3 and 5 years old. They explore interpersonal skills with playtime. Questions, creativity, and knowledge emerge. They always ask the question, why? Children initiate activities and either receive criticism and feel guilt, or receive positive reinforcement and feel a sense of capability. A healthy balance of both guilt and initiative result in the virtue of purpose, which helps to have self-control. Success is the ability to lead others. Failure in this stage results in self-doubt and lack of initiative. In stage 4, industry versus inferiority. The age range is around 6 to 11 years old. Pride is developed with social interactions and play, with reinforcement by parents and teachers. They ask the questions, how can I do this? Approval is sought by peer group to improve self-esteem. Success in this stage leads to becoming competent, also known as industry, and the virtue of competence results. Failure in this stage due to lack of support results in feelings of inferiority, and they doubt their potential. Failure can also help create a healthy balance of modesty and competency. In stage 5, the conflict is identity versus role confusion. It begins in adolescence, from the ages of about 12 to 18. Independence and identity emerge, transition from childhood to adulthood, trying to understand adult roles. Children develop this sense of independence and identity that will influence them the rest of their life. Erikson felt the transition between child to adulthood was the most important. They ask the question, who am I? They create social relationships and the desire to fit in. They try to understand adult roles like career and family. Success with proper guidance leads to independence and fidelity, which is a commitment to yourself and others. Failure results in role confusion if one is unable to find a role in society. Erikson was the first to coin the term identity crisis. In stage 6, the conflict is intimacy versus isolation. It begins in young adulthood, between the ages of 18, but goes all the way to about 40 years old. It focuses on personal and intimate relationships with a significant other. It asks the questions, who can I share my life with? Success in previous stages is very important for this stage in order to have a positive sense of self. If humans are successful, they will feel commitment and security. The virtue of love is achieved in this stage. Failure in this stage leads to isolation and feelings of loneliness and depression. Stage 7 is generativity versus stagnation. It's in middle adulthood, from the ages of about 40 to 65. The focus is on career and family, and they want to give back to society and those who will outlive them. They ask the question, whom or what can I care for? Humans will nurture those who will live after them. They want to give back to society. A sense of closeness with their life partner leads to feelings of accomplishment and success, also known as generativity. The virtue of caring is received in this stage. Failure in this stage is also known as stagnation. Stage 8 is ego versus despair. It's in late adulthood, over the age of 65. It's the final psychosocial stage. It's a stage that humans slow down and reflect on their life. Humans are able to have a sense of fulfillment or regret. It asks the questions, has my life been meaningful? Success at this stage is deemed as the virtue of wisdom. If a legacy can be left, people feel a sense of peace and do not fear death. Failure in this stage results in despair and depression. A nursing paradigm is a concept that focuses on person, health, environment, and nursing as a whole. Erikson's theory is considered a psychosocial development theory, rather than an exclusive nursing theory. But despite this, it is a multifaceted theory that can be applied significantly to the nursing profession. As nurses, taking care of those across the lifespan is a major component to our profession and is a key feature clearly evident in Erikson's psychosocial theory. He also focused on how the environment, including culture, people, and customs, directly affects development of an individual and their views on the world. Person Another component of the nursing meta-paradigm can also be seen within Erikson's theory of development. Having a positive sense of self for both nurses and those we care for can directly affect an individual's health, especially elders, both mentally and physically, in the aging process. The strengths to the theory are that it is able to be used across the lifespan. It attempts to understand the significance of self. It recognizes the importance of social relationships and has become a basis for many theorists after Erikson. Cultural ideas and practices play a significant role, and it utilizes both nature and nurture. Limitations of the theory have been said that it is difficult to objectively evaluate. It can be expensive and time-consuming to apply this theory to famous leaders like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., which he did. It does not recognize those who rediscover themselves later in life, but he always said that there's always hope. You can always redeem it in another stage. It's biologically based, they say, and bias against women because doesn't talk about gender socialization. In this slide, there's a link to a video where you can again watch all the stages of Erikson's psychosocial development theory. In an application of the theory for nursing practice, MacArthur Foundation Research Network on Successful Aging used Erikson's integrity versus despair stage as a theoretical framework to help change the way nurses can help elderly in the aging process. Aging was previously viewed very simply as whether someone had a disease or someone did not have a disease. According to Erikson, feelings of peace or despair are felt in this stage of old age. Nurses play a pivotal role in helping promote successful aging through elder self-evaluations. A positive sense of self and utilizing one's strength is associated with not only better physical health, but better mental health. Having strength and support, elders are more likely to adapt behavior that improves health. Through active listening, positive influence, and education, nurses are a major factor in fostering constructive learning environments to promote health. By helping elders continue physical and social activities, they master this stage, and wisdom develops. Those who have active lives and continue to perform daily activities have more control over their final psychosocial phase and tend to be successful in the aging process. In a personal nursing application, a young patient aged 12 months, he is in the trust versus mistrust stage. He was a victim of shaken baby syndrome. Private nurses began working with him at the age of 9 months with an NG tube for feedings, respiratory problems, blindness, decreased muscle tone, and incessant crying. Trust in his caregivers was non-existent up to this point. Patient spent some time in foster care, but now lives with his aunt and private permanent nurses for continuity of care. Trust has been restored and he is progressing well. Patient uses Mickey button now for feedings and soothes with a pacifier and is being spoon-fed. This baby is progressing, and I believe it's partly due to his newfound trust. In an application of theory for education, Erikson's theory is used for teachers and children in schools in order to help promote decision-making, independence and dependence, and positive reinforcement. In the autonomy versus shame and doubt stage, they don't overly correct the toddlers. This stage is a very vulnerable and important stage. Both independence and dependence are common. Mastery equals positive self-esteem with positive self-control. In the initiative versus guilt stage, frequent independence, appropriate level of tasks, and setting clear expectations, and using shelving to help toddlers pick items out without having to ask for help. The focus is on positive aspects more than negative, and not to hover over children performing tasks that will deter them from attempting them on their own. In research, Erikson's book, Young Man Luther, A Study in Psychoanalysis and History, did an in-depth research on how he, Martin Luther King Jr., as a political figure caused positive changes in society. Erikson's theory has been applied to many famous leaders in our country and throughout the world, including Thomas Jefferson, Martin Luther King Jr., and even Mahatma Gandhi. Research has applied his theories to better understand what factors and situations these people faced that prompted the way they rose above adversity to become the leaders they are known for today. Research is used to educate people on what a model leader is and the formula of a social advocate using the various stages. Research has helped predict future leaders and social advocates that have influenced the modern world.